Welcome to A Dose of Feel Good. I'm your host, Whitney Bischoff, and today we are talking about what's in your control versus outside of your control. You can see full show notes at doseoffeelgood.my.canva.site. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome, everyone, to episode 9. I'm always excited to record and share episodes, but our topic today is what is in your control versus outside of your control. And I really love approaching life this way. Anyone who has interacted with me, especially in the workplace, knows that this is often how I like to approach things, particularly when they are hard, and we all have hard times. So we're going to try to navigate them together, and hopefully this tidbit today maybe helps. That's what we're here for. So why is it important? Why is it important to think about things that are in your control versus outside of your control? I think on a surface level, we all get the general idea of what that looks like, but it's really hard to actually put this mentality into practice. It takes a lot of trying things over and over to actually get there and focus on what's in our control. Life can be messy. I don't think I need to go into a ton of detail of what that looks like, especially because everyone's navigating their own things. Life can look very different and does look different for everyone. My mess that I try to navigate through is going to be very different than my friends, even family members who've experienced similar things. Those that I'm walking past, right, in Target or wherever, we're all experiencing messy things in life. It's not just that we coast through. It's messy. It's hard. And I think when we are really amidst that mess, oftentimes we get a lot of anxiety because we don't know. We can't see what's maybe happening in those moments or what the outcomes are going to be. If you're anything like me, I overthink. I question things I say, do, all of the above, trying to think like if I would have approached it this way or that way or any of those things, right? We just go over scenarios over and over and over, and it leads to worry. We worry about, how we might impact others or just how we've approached things, right? We think that, if I would have only known better, I would have approached things differently. That's just not life. But we all have and understand that concept, that mentality. I think we also live in a time where there are a lot of unknowns. And so that can cause its own levels of anxiety and what's to come. And it can be really debilitating. As humans, we care. We care about the life that we're leading. We care about those around us. And when there's so much uncertainty, it causes us to just worry about what's to come. That's natural. That's human instinct. Our curiosity, it leads us to want to know what the outcomes look like, even when we don't get to know. We can anticipate, we can kind of make these guesses, and then I think sometimes when we make those guesses and it doesn't go that way, it can be that much harder. So much of our life is completely beyond our control. And I know that can seem a little defeating, and that's not our goal at all here today. Our goal is that when we focus on those things that are outside of our control, that worry just mounts. It causes stress when there is nothing that we can do in those moments. And while that can seem really hard and not fun, there are things we can do about it. We can control our mindset. We can control our approach to those things that we don't know how it's going to go, but we can control how we show up. I really started to hone in on this at my last job. There's a whole graphic. I'm going to link the graphic probably both on social media and in our blog post so you can check it out and see it. But I used it all the time. I had a team member that came to me. I think they found it on LinkedIn. There's a lot of different graphics. This is just the one that I use. But it shows this brain, this human, and all of the things that are swirling outside of your control. So things like my past, my future, the actions and opinions of others, what might be happening in the world around me, the outcomes of my efforts. So if you think of just kind of all of those things, they're completely outside of our control. It's often what leads to that overthinking, that anxiety, that worry. It's all of these things in the world around us. If you could see me right now, I'm like pointing all the things in the world around us, right? But there are things that are within our control. And so this graphic shows kind of what's inside the human brain as like puzzle pieces. So I can control my boundaries. I can control how I communicate those. I can control my thoughts regarding those things outside of my control. I can control the actions that I bring. I can also control the energy I put into the world, the way that I speak to myself, and how I respond to the challenges that we'll inevitably face. And so when we think of that mindset, it's more of those than action steps. There are things that I can actually do. I can actually control when it can feel very, very overwhelming and hard. So what does this look like in practice? So I have a few different stories. Like I said, this was brought to me at my last job, and I'd often have students, sometimes even staff members, in my office in tears. And for anyone who knows me, I'm not a big crier. I tend to get like really awkward when people are crying around me. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. But so anytime someone come in, they were upset. I had this graphic on like front and center on my wall in my office. And I would print this off. I put it in front of them and we would just talk through whatever frustration or stress they were feeling. And, you know, it might be they did bad on a test. Oftentimes it was a lot worse than that. They were experiencing hard things in life. And we would talk through, you know, this is what's causing me worry or frustration. And we put it in those categories outside of our control. And then I'd pause and I'd say, all right, like, let's look at what's within this graphic. And the inside, right? What's within our control. And so taking a pause to really then reframe, like this is causing me worry. Okay, how can I actually respond by what's within my control? I think often, at least for me, I right now have a lot of health things, and health things can be really scary. And I joked, I had my brain surgery recently, which I know I brought up a few times. But I joked going in, I had, you know, people ask like, are you stressed about it? You know, those types of things. And even amidst everything that I have right now that I'm navigating through, the truth is I can't control any of it. I can't control how the doctors treat. I can't control the outcomes of either the surgery or whatever. I can't control the outcomes of the tests, right? I cannot control that. I can worry about it. I can have this fear, but it's not going to do anything for anyone. And so I oftentimes find myself like, what's within my control here? Well, my control is I'm going to take care of the symptoms that I have now. What's within my control is to show up and just enjoy life, enjoy the healthy moments. That's what's within my control. And I think really looking at that, another funny story. So I was in a wedding recently and two different moments. So I got my first manicure, I think ever, which was wild, but the lady was just, she was laughing at me the whole time, but she was holding my fingernails. And I mean, for those of you who have had manicures before, apparently you're supposed to like relax and like just chill. And she kept hitting my hand and she was like, relax, woman. Back of my head, I was like, yeah, I've never relaxed a day in my life. I don't even know what that means. And then same thing, having our makeup done for it. And it's just not something that I'm used to doing. And the lady was trying to put lipstick on me. she was like, you have to relax your lips. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what that looks like. And I mentioned that because I think we carry a lot of stress, right? I'm not going to lie. I am a little stressed at the moment with, again, all my health things. And so it was just funny that like in my physical body, people could tell that I was not relaxed. And so I have this really great song that I've been listening to, All Joy, No Stress. Thomas Rhett sings it. There's somebody else. Anyways, if you haven't listened to it, I really encourage you to do so, because it just reminds me that there are so many joyful things. And when we focus on the stress, it does impact us. It makes life that much harder. And we don't have to focus on those stressful things. We can focus on what's within my control. And I'm going to choose to have a mindset that shows joy and chooses joy. And I think this has a long-term impact beyond just like moments that we're frustrated or when life is hard. We're all going to experience challenges. It's how we show up and respond to those. In the long term, if we really do choose to focus on all the things that are outside of our control, we're in this constant state of fight or flight, this stress or like survival mode. And I'm not talking about, those that have experienced trauma. That could be a whole separate topic that we're talking about. But I know for myself, like I can really pinpoint the moment that I moved from like this survival and just kind of showing up. Am I going to fight today or am I going to fly? Right. Or maybe freeze. But like just having that moment where I could actually breathe and not be in survival mode. That's what we're talking about here. If we have stress for so long, it, gives us headaches. It can cause heart issues, a bunch of other things. And so I think having this mindset where we move from that state of constant anxiety and worry to a place where this is what's within my control, our health actually improves in the long run. And we can have a better impact on those long-term health outcomes. I think the hard part is that there has to be a level of trust for ourselves to be able to change that mindset and know that everything's going to be okay, especially when we don't know. Like there's a lot of unknown. So we have to have that level of trust for ourselves, but also for those we surround ourselves with. And when we don't have that trust element, it's really hard to bring things back to this is what's within my control because I don't trust how someone's going to respond. And focusing really then on I can choose who I surround myself with. I don't have to surround myself with the people that make life harder. Life is hard enough. And I do think it's natural, again, to have this fear, worry. It's our survival instinct. It's how, as humans, we've survived so long. But we can train ourselves to move our mindset and thoughts from just that constant state of worry and into action steps. So really thinking through, what can I do about this moment? And if the answer is absolutely nothing, we're going to let it go. And again, it takes a lot of practice, but we are just going to let it go because we cannot control all of that worry. And it's not a fun place to be in when we are stressed about all of those unknowns. So how do we start practicing this concept? I've talked a lot about pausing. We're going to bring it up here again when we are kind of in that anxiety state or we're worrying about those unknowns. I really encourage you to just pause and reflect a little bit of why is this causing me anxiety? And then give yourself action steps of this is how I'm going to respond. I'm going to do something about this moment, whatever that looks like for you, and put that practice into action. So not staying in our heads, but I'm going to go and do something about this. Again, I'm going to have the graphic linked. I highly encourage you, save it on your phone, print it out, whatever makes sense for you. Some of us are visual learners and visual processors. And so having that actually in front of you when those frustrations or challenges come up, it really, really helps to talk through it, right? You can look at this graphic and in that moment, really break down whatever the situation is, all of this is outside of my control and really naming that and seeing that. and then bringing it back of, I'm going to create these action steps based on what's within my control. And I have the graphics saved on my phone. I use it, again, often, even when talking with others, and I think that's a really helpful tool to use. So I think that's where we're going to leave it today. So trying to give you some really simple steps this week. Again, pause, reflect, reframe, and do it in that concept of breaking down, this is, in this moment, what's inside of my control versus outside of my control. And giving yourself, again, I talked about this a little bit earlier, that grace to be able to practice that. Again, it's a skill. And we all have messy lives and challenges we're facing. And I've said this before, we do hide it really well. And so hopefully this concept today can give some action steps to move forward through those challenges and hopefully know that you are not having to navigate those alone. We're all in it together, and you have a whole group of people who are rooting you on and navigating that journey with you. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you are feeling ready to conquer the week and let your impact ripple out to the world around you. Let's connect on Instagram and Threads at Dose of Feel Good Podcast. If you're loving the podcast, I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button and leave a review. Until next time, share your own dose of feel good and never underestimate the power of positivity.